Hi and welcome back. Today we're talking about a 20-year-old forward called Peter Grogan, born 25th of January 2005 in Crettyard, Laois. He started his career off with local side Deen Celtic in Castlecomer in Kilkenny, which is just 5 minutes away from Crettyard in Laois, so it's a different county but it's just down the road. From there he moved back to his local side Crettyard United until the talented youngster moved to the academy of CK United, then known as Carlow Kilkenny FC. He continued to hone his craft there and moved through the age groups over the coming years until, after briefly moving back to Crettyard United to play senior football, he moved up to Dublin to the academy of Irish top flight side Bohemians on the 1st of January 2022 at the very young age of 16. Just to note, his family also committed and backed him fully and his career by commuting with him 4 times, if not more, a week up to Dublin for training and matches. He stayed with Bohs for circa 2 years and even made his pro debut at 18 on the 3rd of July 2023 in the semi-finals of the Leinster Senior Cup, and not only making his debut but scoring the winning goal in the 87th minute to seal the victory. So what a debut. He did make the bench for the final, but his semi-final heroics were unfortunately to be his only Bohs appearance, but the catalyst perhaps to where his career is now and where he is now. That appearance, together with the dedication he had shown up until that point to make it as a pro footballer, starring and winning the tie and by default the cup, as Bohs went on to play Usher Celtic. They beat Shelburne, no offence to Usher Celtic, but you'd imagine Bohs or Shelburne would have beaten Usher Celtic quite easily. So that was the real final for both of those teams, and Bohs came through, and then they beat Usher Celtic in the final game 5-0. So he'd done his part by winning that Shells tie, and that would have shown him and his family and the team that he had now outgrown the underage tag route and truly belonged where he was and deserved more game time as a first team player. That game time would have come at Bohs, but the question would have been when, i.e. in the near future, or would he have had to buy his time and continue to work his way into contention at Bohs. Shows the character of the player and again his family and team behind him, that he knew he deserved that game time now and wasn't willing to hang around, and made the smart decision to leave historically big Irish Premier Division top tier side Bohs, not at their best the last number of years of course, but still in the top tier, and moved down to the first division, i.e. the second tier in Irish football, with Bray Wanderers. He moved to Bray on the 26th of January 2024 for the 24 season as a just turned 19-year-old, and hit the ground running, making his debut for them on the 23rd of February in the Irish First Division, in which he again, just like with Bohs, scored in his debut. For his first season as a fully fledged pro at the still very young age of only 19, he turned out 21 times with 7 goals, and that would have been more, but he missed some game time to injury. So by all accounts, a very good first season. Couldn't really have gone any better, except for, the injury that had him out for a few games, in which he played his part in helping Bray get into the playoffs, where they eventually just missed out on promotion in a final playoff with Drogheda United, albeit he had himself moved on prior to that match, but he'd done his part in the regular season to get them there into the playoffs. His season at Bray showed the level he was already at and a sign of where he would go. And his season last year, again the 2024 season in Ireland, it runs the calendar year as opposed to in England and most other leagues in Europe. His season didn't go unnoticed, and he would have had options in lots of places. Obviously, to stay with Bray, of course, move back up to the Premier Division, where he probably warranted to be now as well, or elsewhere, perhaps in the UK. A key point, in my opinion, would be, as he'd been at that stage in his career, a fully fledged pro now, it's not a backward step to go to a big side and go into an academy, but you want to be playing week in, week out in a competitive league as a pro now. As said, a big academy, yes, it would be hard to turn down, but you really want to be playing that first team football now that you've broken into first team football as a pro. As said, his very successful season with Bray didn't go unnoticed, and the 19-year-old was heavily scouted and pursued by MLS side Austin FC, moving last year at the end of the Irish First Division 2024 season, regular season I suppose you call it, on the 14th of August 2024 to Austin's second team, albeit, who play in the MLS Next NXT League, which is equivalent to the third tier there, though there is no promotion relegation to the MLS, of course, in the US. He is himself on the books of an MLS top tier side, and it's only a skip and a jump to get there now once he does it on the pitch. With Austin, he signed a just over 2-year deal, so it's a statement of intent from them, running until the 21st of December 2026, to which the club have an option of a further 2 years thereafter. The season there has just kicked off in March of this year, and again, just like at Bray, the now 20-year-old has hit the ground running, appearing and starting all 4 of their first 4 games and scoring twice to boot. And continue like this, the opportunity to turn out in their first team in the MLS will come sooner than expected, you'd imagine, you'd hope, you'd imagine. He does have seasoned pros ahead of him in his position for the Austin FC first team, and they're all internationals, but they are not big, huge names like at other MLS sides that sometimes make it impossible for somebody in, a younger player or whatever to break into the first team. At Austin FC, there will be opportunities, you'd imagine, throughout the season in his position, and he would have held his own at the majority of the same clubs that the people ahead of him in the first team were at the same stage in their careers. None of their club histories are, you'd say, oh, he couldn't have played at that level. Yeah, he definitely could. So you'd imagine there will be hopefully opportunities, again, continuing his very successful start into the season. Long term, he's going to become undeniably knocking on the door. A few injuries or a dip in form for some of them. Next thing, he's in the first team, and that's the way he himself no doubt will be thinking. At Austin FC, he also isn't the only Irishman there, as first team seasoned Austin and MLS pro John Gallagher, who we did a pod and there'll be a link there below, is also there, and no doubt he will help him integrate quicker into this first team squad, into the club, and also can act as a mentor too, no doubt, for Peter. Internationally, Peter has represented Ireland at youth schools level, where he also captained the Irish team, which shows how respected he is by his peers and management alike. I'm sure he was also in the mix for underage caps. He was definitely at training camps and trials for underage squads in the past. And during his successful season at Bray last season, he would have been on Irish underage management's notebooks, and they would have been keeping an eye on him. And that's on merit and form alone. Clearly, he has the pedigree and determination to go to the very top of Irish football in the future and turn out for the senior Irish international team. Whether that will happen if he's playing in the MLS is debatable, perhaps. But in my opinion, there should be a full-time US scout for the Irish international setup in the US, based in the US, or even doesn't have to be based, I suppose. Nowadays, you could get someone travelling over, but yeah, ideally based there. With the internet and all, you can do a lot of remote viewing, but it'd be better to have someone there, and there's lots of Irish there, people well qualified to do that role, so I don't see why that shouldn't happen, but it hasn't happened, so maybe that'll make it a bit harder to get international recognition if he does, and when he does break into the Austin FC first team or at another MLS side if he goes somewhere else, as our players that play further afield aren't always taken into the catchment and not really looked at as closely as they should be. And again, the catchment is usually, for the Irish international setup, is usually still UK based, really, with a few splatter maybe in continental Europe. It's changing, but it should be changing a lot quicker and sooner. We're going to miss out on players in the coming years that not in Peter's case, he's just qualifies for Ireland, but there's other players that qualify for other countries, and we're going to miss out because we're not picking them up quick enough at senior level, in my opinion. Again, the US MLS, again, not just the US, Canada as well, MLS based players is a missed opportunity, as there is both Irish born and Irish eligible players there playing week in, week out that should be considered again on merit and performance alone, playing week in, week out and starting matches and performing exceptionally well, but is widely ignored, is possibly too harsh, but overlooked perhaps. Of course, that may change in the near future or in the future, and if when Peter breaks into the first team at Austin and becomes a week in, week out first teamer and starter, perhaps he will be the one to break that mould. However, he may also decide to move elsewhere if that is not an imminent prospect for him, and as a result bring himself into senior international contention elsewhere if that's a route he decides to go down. But they're all future decisions. Just to know, he's not a 23-year-old player after going through the US college route and picked up in an MLS draft. He's only, again, I have to stress, only just gone a few months 20 after a full season behind him in Bray, heavily scouted by Austin. Again, nothing wrong going the college route, and it works out for a lot of people, but it may be a harder route to go. Although he has loads of time to adapt, he has shown he also doesn't need it and has hit the ground running and taken every opportunity when it has arisen. And he won't hang around this time either. On the pitch, of course, he's already ready and will be grabbing it with both hands when that opportunity comes. A long career, yes, is ahead of him, and he is and has today already done exceptionally well, and the best is still yet to come, and he has many gears and levels to move through in his game, which he is well capable of doing again imminently whenever those opportunities arise. Whatever happens in the future, the 20-year-old is well on course for the top, whether that be in the MLS in the near future and staying there long term, or back over this side of the water in perhaps England, or perhaps in another big league somewhere else in continental Europe or somewhere else in the world, of course, not just restricted to continental Europe. You know, there's big opportunities elsewhere. He just needs to continue what he's doing on the pitch, progress and hone his craft as he's doing, and the rest will fall into place. Will there be a stint back in the League of Ireland in the interim? Perhaps League of Ireland fans will be hoping he does come back, of course, but perhaps his future lies elsewhere in the coming years. If he continues as he started in his second full season as a pro, again playing in the equivalent of the third tier in US football, you'd imagine the sky is the limit for this potential future Irish international in the not too distant future at the top tier in US or in another top league. If you liked the video, send us a like, subscribe, or leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you, or buy us a coffee at the link in the description. And as always, we'll be watching.